Hi guys. So today is -11. So this is typical Wisconsin weather that we all hate as horse people. Technically it's only 0 degrees, but the real feel is -11. And tonight it's actually supposed to go down to -11 before wind chill. So I think it's supposed to be like -24 or -30 or something. So it's gonna be bad. So anyways, I'm going to just show you what I do for winter weather like this and how to protect yourself in the cold. So first, I start with nice warm shirt and pants. This is the long sleeve shirt that I'm wearing, and it's got some nice comfy fuzz underneath. Can't really see it, it's kind of hard to see. But and then my pants also have nice cozy fuzzy material underneath. See that a little bit better. Kind of see it. So this isn't the greatest camera, you guys. But anyway, so it's nice and thick, and it's supposed to be moisture wicking. That's what they say anyway. They're a little bit long for me. I bought them big so they're nice and comfy and loose, because the more loose they are, the more you can trap hot air versus trying to have thin, tight material. These are relatively tight, but they're not like too tight. There's still some room for air trapping. And then I've got these special heat trapping socks, which I've got like probably 5 or 6 pairs now, because our winters are pretty rough here. I forget the brand, but I got them from Fleet Farm. So they're for farmers, farmers like me. So you can see like how thick they are and how soft and fuzzy they are on the inside. And they are supposed to be moisture wicking as well. It's really, really, really important that you don't sweat, because if you sweat while you're doing chores, then you're gonna get wet, and then once you're wet, you're cold. Doesn't matter how many layers you wear. It doesn't matter how nice the material is. If you sweat too much and you layer up too much while you're working, then you will sweat and get cold. On a day like today, it's pretty hard to get cold, no matter how many layers you're wearing. So normally I will just wear these pants, these socks, and of course good gloves, like these zero exposure gloves. I really like these. Once again, very well lined. Nice fuzzy warm material on the inside. These are not fully waterproof. I thought they were, but they're not. So, but they're the best that I've found so far, but I'm gonna have to try to find some better ones. But I've never found a glove that was better for warmth. So these are the ones that I use. These are actually my husband's. I have my own pair, but I use those for every day. I don't like to use them on the farm. So these are a little bit big, so it makes it hard to do my chores because they're so much bigger than my finger, you know? So you can't really grip things very well. But my actual sized ones are better. I may just get another pair of these in my size, or I might find something better. So if you guys have any suggestions, waterproof is really important, especially when you're filling the water. Obviously, like I said, once you're wet, you're kind of screwed. My husband and I actually filled up the horse water last night, and it was in the dark, and it was like 9 degrees, but it wasn't that windy yet. So even though it really was unfortunate that we had to do it in the dark and it was super cold, I knew that it was just going to get colder. So we did it last night, and I used a different set of gloves that are not these, and they were not waterproof at all. But it was, like, I actually prefer to do watering without gloves on because you dry off faster, right? So once you get wet, like when you're actually, like, watering the horses, your hands get really wet, you can't avoid it. And once your gloves are wet, you're screwed. So I usually try to do it without gloves on, and then I will dry my hands off really quick and then put my gloves on. Well, in weather like we had last night, which was, like I said, 9 degrees, and I don't know what the real feel was. I think the real feel was probably around 0. Maybe even a little bit below, but I actually wore my other gloves because they were my, what I call my sacrifice gloves. So I let my hands get wet in the gloves, because if you let your hands get wet and you're handling metal, you will stick to the metal. It doesn't matter how briefly you touch metal, like on a hose for instance, you will stick to it. And it's really kind of a scary feeling. So I use my sacrifice gloves, and I put my hands in there wet, and I let them get wet, and then when I'm done with watering, then I take them off, and then I dry my hands off, and then I switch them to these. So that's what I used last night. But today, with it being negative, well, let's see, it's 5 degrees right now, but negative 11 real feel, I feel like I need to have these, and I'm not handling water as much because I'm not actually watering the horses because that lasts for a couple of days. So we did it last night before the super duper deep freeze hit, and that way we don't have to touch water as much. We still do, obviously, because everything is snow covered out there. You can't really avoid it, but at least our hands won't be soaked. So, because it's super cold out today, I am going to put on multiple layers, which I don't always do because I do sweat when I'm doing chores because it's hard work, obviously. So, my second layer is going to be, first of all, pants. Just normal sweatpants, nothing fancy. They're not, I mean, they're a little bit fuzzy, but they're not as fuzzy as these everyday pants. But they offer another layer of protection. So one thing that horse people forget, when they're riding, they wear like one layer of pants because they're thin pants and they need to feel the horse, and that's great. But if you don't have a second layer, even if your core is warm, and even if your hands and your ears and your face is warm from other protective elements, your thighs will actually get burned anyway from the cold. So even if you don't realize it, you are actually going to kill the tissue on your thighs because you don't have enough layering on your thighs. The rest of your body feels warm. Your heart's pumping, you're working out, the blood's flowing, everything feels normal, but you can still find out that you end up, having to cut off dead tissue because you killed your tissue from the cold. So it's really important in cold weather to have a second layer like this. I don't always wear this, only when it's super cold and I know I'm going to be out there for an extended amount of time. Normally this is enough, in like 20, 30 degrees, maybe even 10 degrees if I'm not going to be out too long. But today, with it being negative 11, these pants are definitely coming on. So we're going to put those on, and then I've got my trusty earmuffs. Of course, you have to protect your ears because they don't get as much blood flow, just like your fingers and toes. You have to make sure that anything on your body, it can't be exposed in weather like this. So Wisconsinites know this pretty well, but people in other states might not. In this kind of weather where it's well below zero like this, you have got to cover everything. So especially ears and toes and fingers, because out in this cold, your body prioritizes your core. So like your organs, your heart, your liver. If you're going to start to freeze to death, your body is going to save all the heat that it can in the core, but it will sacrifice everything on the outside, which is your ears, your fingers, your toes. That's where you get frostbite. And also, like I said, the thighs. If you don't protect your thighs, that is, for some reason, according to the body, it's just not an important part of your body, and it will sacrifice and get frostbite. So those are important. And then I've got, of course, a nice heavy duty coat. This one I just bought this year because the one from last year, it was a little bit too short and it wasn't really covering my thighs as much as I wanted. So I got something a little bit longer. It covers most of my thighs. It's not all the way down to my knees, but I couldn't find something that was warm enough. So the important thing with a coat, when you're looking for a coat, if you're shopping for it and you're looking at all different coats and you can't decide what you want, there's a couple of things that I look for that are super important for a coat. First of all, you want to make sure that you have no air escaping up the arms, right? Because if you have a super warm coat, but you have air pockets that get in, you're going to be cold. So the thing that I like about this one is it has a little thumb hole, just like a glove, and it's super tight around your hand, so you're not going to get any air escaping up here. This one, also, it's not like super tight around the bottom, but it's long enough that you don't really get air coming up. So this one worked pretty well. There are some that would be a little bit better, but they can also be a little bit uncomfortable if they're too tight around the thighs. And then another thing you want to look for is a good hood. So this one, the thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have any ties. So you can't tighten this around your face. And that's really unfortunate. And I almost decided not to get it because of that. But the reason why I went with it is because this hood is really well lined. See how nice and thick that is? And it's also huge. So when you put this on, it really covers your face and several inches beyond it. So as long as this is up, even on a windy day, for the most part, your face is well covered. And as soon as you put it on, this is my first, like, number one thing I look for, is I immediately feel hot. So I was trying on all these different coats, and they all felt, somewhat warm. But as soon as I put this one on, it was like stepping into a furnace. I felt my body heat immediately starting to heat up. So I was like, okay, this is the one, even though it has this drawback. And I really wish that I could tighten it around my face, but sometimes you just can't find something as perfect as you would like it, and that's okay. So I make up for this not being able to protect my face as much as I would like with the earmuffs. So I wear the earmuffs with the hood. And this also zippers up really high, so it covers your mouth and nose. And that's super, super, super important in this kind of weather. Like I said, you cannot have anything, you can't have any skin showing in this kind of cold, okay? So this goes all the way up, covers my nose and my mouth. This shields me from the wind around my face. This protects my ears. And then, of course, I always wear a scarf. So a scarf just gives that added protection around your neck so there's no wind getting in. And I also, if it gets super, super bad, I will put it up around my nose and mouth. Even though I do have the nice hood, sometimes I'll do both. Today is probably a both kind of a day. So I'm going to put these on really quick, and we'll head out and do chores. And then, of course, I think I showed you these before. I've got a couple different boots. These are rubber, and they work pretty well for everyday chores, but they're not super, super warm. They work for, like, 20s, 30s, maybe even 10 degrees, maybe even 0 if you're not going to be out there very long. But you will notice the difference. So this is fleece lined. So you can kind of see that all around here, all inside. They're not as waterproof, only on the very bottom there. But today we don't really have to worry about being waterproof because it's not raining. So I'm not too worried about it, but I am worried about having that extra layer of fleece. So this is the boot that I'm going to choose to wear today. Now, on a day like today, I would maybe even want to add a foot warmer, but I don't think I have any at the moment, so that's unfortunate. But I'm also going to try to limit my time outside as much as I can. So the goal is to get in, get out, and get done, and don't get frostbite. So wish me luck. You guys have a great day.